My name is Tim Stanley, graduate student with American College of Education, and I have created a 5E instructional model lesson about volcanoes. To go over the 5E instructional model, there's 5 steps, and they actually all begin with the letter E. The first step is to engage your learners to connect a topic to what students already know and to grab their attention. Once that is done, you want your students to explore the concepts and the knowledge and ideas and skills. The third step is the explain step, where it's kind of a time for discussion and either teacher presentation or even student presentation. I guess you could do a lot of different things for explanation, but to articulate and discuss and understand the concepts and to kind of get rid of misconceptions or any kind of, if there's any question marks, to help explain things for your students. The fourth step of the 5E instructional model is to elaborate and expand on what the students have learned to kind of let them go further with the information and practice the skills. And then finally, the last step of the 5E instructional model is to evaluate the students' knowledge, and this is both the teacher and the students are doing this. Overall, I believe if you do the 4 steps correctly, the evaluation process should go seamlessly and have very good scores, very good marks that the kids will achieve. Using the 5E instructional model lines up with UDL, or the Universal Design for Learning, very nicely, where you basically engage your learners and the teacher offers lots of input and student input or just representation of the material, and then also output or expression of the material. So it really lets the learners get into a topic in a lot of different ways, and it's very beneficial. And 5E can be applied to all content areas of teaching. It is very much so designed for science, which is the subject I teach, so that is very nice. But once again, it can be used for all different content areas. And once again, I'll be using the 5E instructional model for a lesson on volcanoes. Using the 5E instructional model in science, here is a taken from an article that many within the science education community have recognized the model's practical value and incorporated it into school programs, state frameworks, and national guidelines. There's something to the model that has held the community's interest during the decades, and this has touched me deeply. To conclude, I encourage the continued use of the model with full recognition that classroom teachers will bring appropriate adaptations based on the unique circumstances of their students. And when it comes to teaching about volcanoes using the 5E instructional model, basically the reason for doing this and also having it incorporated with UDL, it allows for a lot of interest in the material, student inquiry, lots of representation and expression and critical thinking. And the students are allowed to act like scientists and do research and to really investigate the material. And another quote taken from an article says the 5E learning cycle engages students in meaningful inquiry in which they act like scientists to explore scientifically oriented questions. So here we go. So to start off my lesson, and there's a YouTube video here. So this video I have it on this computer, so it'll play right in the PowerPoint. But if you want to watch it off of YouTube, the link is right there. And I'm not going to let this play the whole time.
These are the only images that exist of this catastrophic event. But this sequence was not shot by a video camera. Instead, it was created by USGS scientists and graphic artists based on a series of extraordinary still photographs taken by an amateur photographer named Gary Rosenquist. On May 18th.
And I'm going to pause it here, but basically this is a video clip of Mount St. Helens, where it shows the explosion of the volcano, and it is kind of, when you watch this, this really gets interest going, and then after you play it, it's about 2-3 minutes. You're going to get a lot of discussion and questions, and then you're going to take those questions and turn them around and ask them back and have the kids think about what's happening and why the volcano is doing that. So that is my engagement piece, to kind of get kids going with volcanoes and the topic of volcanoes. Once they've done that, they'll be given a volcano web quest where they're going to work in pairs and research the different aspects of a volcano, how they form, their functions, and where they form. And they'll be using iPads, and I'll have it on my website that they can use a Google form document where they can fill in their answers. So it'll be all kind of there for them, and it'll help them through the process. But all their research and all their findings are on their own. After they've done that, I will have a teacher-led presentation where the students, will go over some different aspects of volcanoes. But on top of that, I'll probe with questions and have them answer different, things that I'm thinking of that I want them to be able to come up with and critically think about. And they can also come up to the board and show them some different imagery, and they can point out different parts of a volcano. And that's the explain piece. To elaborate and expand, the students are going to be assigned different volcanoes of the world, and they're going to work in pairs, and they're going to create a poster, and they're going to research different volcanoes. Example, let's say like Mount Etna, or basically any volcano of the world, like Mount Vesuvius. So each pairing will get a volcano. And once again, they're going to do lots of research and make a poster on it, and they're going to present to class. But they're going to present against another pairing, and basically, whatever pairing has a better presentation and kind of sells their volcano, the students will vote, and it will be a Battle of the Volcano contest, and we'll determine as we go through a bracket which is the greatest or the best volcano of the world in that particular class hour. So something very fun, very interactive, and because it's competition and they have to sell their volcano, they're really going to get a lot of facts and get a lot of knowledge that kind of really intrigues them and the audience. And the last aspect of my 5E lesson would be to evaluate how what the students have retained and their knowledge. There's an app on the iPad or Android that's called ZipGrade, and what you do is you give the students a ZipGrade sheet, and they take their assessment on there, and then you take the iPad and basically screen capture it, and it instantly gives you feedback. It gives you their score, and then it automatically uploads it to a website. So that is my 5E instructional model lesson on volcanoes. And once again, the 5E instructional model is absolutely wonderful. There's so many different components to it that are that make sense, and it incorporates nicely with the universal design for learning. And here is my reference page from the two articles I quoted. The first one was the instructional model, personal reflections and contemporary implications, science and children, and the second one was which comes first, language or content learning, science content through SIOP in the 5E learning cycle. Thank you.